let's first look at the degree of interactional justice, which is where the employee is treated with consideration and respect during the appraisal process, i.e. they are able to provide input into the evaluation process. Previous findings show that higher levels of interactional justice are seen when employees have a greater understanding of their performance standards, when they are able to have an input into their performance standards, and when they are treated with respect. Moreover, previous findings have found that the more specific the contract, the more positive employee perceptions with regard to organisational justice. Let's now meet the manager at EY and examine how the performance appraisal at EY is conducted and the degree of their interactional justice.
My name is Alice Chorolski. I work at EY. I'm a senior manager in the Human Capital Group. It's a combination of two, so behavioural things, like there are the four quadrants which we look at, and people is one of them. So how you interact with people, generally it's like, can you give work appropriately, do you receive work appropriately, or is everything you say, no, I can't do that, that's too hard, I'm not trying, you know, those sorts of things. So there are behavioural aspects to it, but there are also task things. We are a Big Four accounting firm, we work in the tax area. You have to be proficient in certain technical matters as well, and be able to do things like whether it is admin and whether you can do billing appropriately, or draft an email to a client, or answer the phone appropriately, call the tax office or the Office of State Revenue, whatever. There are certain technical tasks that need to be done, and there are also behavioural aspects as well.
Okay. So as the manager's view, let's see a view from the consultant who works under her.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jess. I'm a consultant at EY. At the start of each year we set goals, so it's pretty clear in terms of what are priority goals to be meeting through the year, and that you can change those goals at the beginning of the subsequent year. So yeah, I think, and it's pretty well communicated by your counsellor where you should be in terms of meeting those goals and how you should be performing. I don't think there's any surprises. I think the mid-year review helps with that. So 6 months into the year, they'll pretty much communicate with you how you're going and how you're tracking against the stated objectives, but also in terms of their and also I guess in terms of goals that you haven't necessarily stated. So yeah, I think by the round tables at the end of the year, there's no surprises, or there shouldn't be any surprises.
So overall, their score for the level of interactional justice at EY was... So why did you give them a 5?
Well, overall, it seems that EY has a very high level of interactional justice, where the feelings of employees are considered, where they are respected and given a lot of continuous feedback throughout the year. The informal mid-year process performance appraisal seems to be very useful to improve employee involvement and makes the expected standards more transparent, thus increasing the perception of organisational justice among employees.
So why did you give a score of 3?
Well, the manager stated that she rarely met the partners, and they often provided only 1 to 2 sentences in their written feedback. I think she placed quite a lot of value in what the partner had to say with regards to her progress, and I don't think 1 to 2 sentences is quite enough.
Companies' managers should aim to maximise effective communication and employee involvement within the organisation. For EY's company especially, improve communication and feedback with the partners. Procedural justice is having fairness of procedures used in conducting evaluations, for example, adherence to criteria, lack of bias, consistency and accuracy. Previous findings have found that when employees are dissatisfied and feel the process of performance appraisals to be unfair, they are unlikely to accept and use the results of the appraisal, increased job dissatisfaction, lower organisational commitment and greater intentions to quit. So let's examine the degree of procedural justice at EY.
Hopefully it is fairly clear. At goal setting at the beginning of each review year, there is a lot of material sent around by either the head of tax or sometimes the CEO or something like that to say to everyone, it's goal setting time again, make sure you do your goals by August. Here is some material that you need. If you want to talk about it with your counsellor, speak about it with your counsellor before you get started. But there is always that interaction between the counsellee and the counsellor to make sure that everyone understands where they are. There are certain goals that they provide templates for. So in each of the 4 quadrants, there'll be like some marketing goals. Generally, when you think about marketing, you would think that a partner is going out to sell something, but a cadet might also have some sort of marketing goals attached to their role, but it will obviously be tailored to their role. So every role has a set number of standard goals that are attached to it, and you tailor them for your needs, and you discuss those with your counsellor before they get approved.
So there's 4 key areas that you need to have goals to address each area, so like people, operational excellence, I can't remember the other 2. But then there's also task specific, so once you work on a client for a certain amount of hours, that automatically gets put as a goal. Also, because you, like obviously counsellor signs off on them, but you draft your goals to begin with, so I think that helps you in achieving those goals, because they're kind of goals that you want to achieve, they're not assigned goals, even though they're assigned areas of goals. Does that make sense?
So let's see what the marker had to say about the level of procedural justice.
Well, I think it's really quite good how they have both upward and downward feedback annually, where the managers also get feedback from below and from people on the same level, and how they have to ask more than 3 people to make it seem even more anonymous and to proceed as a rating.
Well, I think overall the procedure is quite fair. However, they still do have some traits and behaviour-oriented evaluation which are more subjective, difficult to measure, and previous findings have found them to not be strongly correlated with job performance. Additionally, there's a sense of subjectiveness and thus procedural injustice if an employee can kind of pick a counsellor who will give good marks.
So let's see what the marks had to say about distributive justice. As results-orientated evaluations seem more fair, companies should minimise traits and behaviour-orientated measurements and increase the results-orientated method. Employers should also have full acknowledgement of the assessment criteria. Distributive justice is determined as the fairness of rewards relative to the work expended. Previous findings have found that employees who recognise the implementation of salary adjustment decisions reported a higher level of distributive justice. Now let's look at what the manager at EY had to say about distributive justice.
Generally, EY goes through, I think, 2 or 3 different salary people that look at all the salaries for accounting firms and work out what the median is, and they say, okay, senior manager should be earning between X and Y, and they'll look at that and say, okay, for our senior managers, the X part is more a 3 rated and the Y part is more a 5 rated. So they'll look at those sorts of spreads that are in the market as well, so just to make sure that you're comparable to the market rates. The last couple of years, there's generally a meeting that happens with the tax head. So I think Antoinette did it, and I think Glenn will be doing it this year to explain what the rating systems are and what the salary is. But that usually happens sort of September, October time when the salary letters come out.
So it seems that distributive justice is quite good as well. Let's now ask the consultant their thoughts.
I think like when you look around, it's very much like, I'm sure you get promoted faster if you're exceptional, but when you look around, it's kind of like, and I'm sure there's consequences if you're a 1 or a 2, but in terms of being a 3 and a 4, I think you kind of tend to just go up in a logical progression based on the amount of years you've been here and your individual team, if there's space for you or not. That's what I think. I think it can be demoralising. You're working really hard, you get a great rating, and then it's like, oh yeah, but the seniors aren't hitting their utilisations, so we don't need another senior. So maybe next time.
So let's see what the marks had to say about distributive justice.
Well, although the manager's perspective at EY believes that the pay reflects performance appraisal, it seems that in reality it isn't fair for some. It can be seen that the pay increase at EY isn't really associated with performance appraisals, and the distribution of the pay is uneven across the different teams.
Companies should endeavour to make the process underlying salary decisions more transparent to employees, and the focus should not only be on how much the organisation pays, but also on the fairness of how such decisions are made. Overall, EY is a company where their performance appraisal holds high level of procedural and interactional justice, however, has some limitations in their distributive justice.
Thanks for letting me watch that, guys. I really understand the importance of having performance appraisals, and I feel that I'm ready to make a performance appraisal, and I'll come back in a week and I'll show you guys. So thank you so much.
No, that's great. Fantastic. We'll see you next week then. Bye!